I sprinted, lungs burning, my shoes abandoned miles ago on the grimy pavement of Lagos Island. The men chasing me weren't the kind to give up easily. I knew too much now. Too much about their operation, too much about the girls they trafficked, and too much about the high-profile names funding their network. If they caught me, it wouldn't just be the end of my story. It would be the end of me. The van screeched from around the corner of the street ahead of me. Its headlights seemed like a predator's unblinking eyes. Then it came to a halt, its tires skidding across the road. I had barely dived behind the rusting oil drums when I heard the door slam shut. 3 men got out, their flashlights slicing through the darkness like knives. This all started 2 months ago with a phone call, a tip that landed in my lap like a dynamite. If you care about the girls, come to the island. Midnight, alone. They are moving the girls tonight, the anonymous voice whispered. Check the docks at midnight. No name, no details. Just a location and a time. I almost dismissed it as scam until I saw a grainy photo sent to my WhatsApp. It was the photo of a teenage girl in tears, her face pressed against the bars of a cage. The image haunted me. Who was she? Where was she? I had been investigating sex trafficking rings for months, and this was the first solid lead I'd gotten in weeks. The trade wasn't new in Nigeria, it thrived in the secrecy, fueled by poverty, corruption, and greed. But this network was different. This was bigger and more ruthless. And the possibility of having influential personalities involved in the trade had me both intrigued and terrified. I didn't need much convincing to take the risk. My gut told me this was a story no one else dared to touch. My name is Celine Yusuf, an investigative journalist. Upon getting to the address provided to me anonymously, I was greeted with the smell of salt water mixed with rotten fish. The only major sound was the distant clanging of ships. I had dressed inconspicuously, blending into the night, my camera ready at hand. My informant was waiting, a jittery young man named Femi who couldn't stop glancing over his shoulder. They will kill me if they find out, say I speak to you, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Who are they? I pressed, trying to keep him calm. Traffickers, he said. They are moving girls out of the country, promising them jobs of modeling, nanny work, but all no lies. Once they leave here, they are gone. Used. Femi handed me a folded piece of paper. On it was a list of names, all underlined in red. These are the ones being moved next. They will leave tomorrow night. With this information, he turned and bolted away, ignoring my calls. I had to leave quickly as well. The next evening, I parked my car a safe distance from the place Femi had described. I could see the operation unfolding and men loading crates into trucks, women herded like cattle. Some cried silently, others stood numb, their hope extinguished. Using the zoom on my camera, I captured everything, the faces of the men, the license plates of the trucks and the branding on the crates. But it wasn't enough. I needed something more. The destination. That's when I heard it. She'll be worth top dollar, one of the men said, gesturing toward a girl who couldn't have been older than 14. Dubai's asking for fresh ones this week. The rage boiled in me, but I couldn't act now. I needed to stay hidden, to collect more evidence. A black SUV idled nearby, its tinted windows concealing whoever was inside. Then, just as I was about to retreat, the SUV's door opened. A man stepped out, his expensive suit and polished shoes starkly out of place amid the grime of the docks. My breath hitched. It was Dominic Obi, a man who often graced television screens with promises of fighting corruption and improving the nation's welfare. He was the Minister of Interior. And here he was, overseeing the trafficking of human lives. I pressed the shutter button furiously, capturing his every move. But then, the unthinkable happened. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a shrill noise that shattered the silence around me. One of the guards spun around, his torchlight sliced through the darkness and landed on me. "There! Get her!" he shouted. I bolted, camera clutched to my chest. My heart felt like it would explode. I had barely dived behind some rusting oil drums when I heard the van's door slam shut. 3 men got out, their torchlights flashing all over the place. I clutched my camera tightly, trying to steady my trembling hands. My heart was pounding so loudly I was sure they could hear it. The footage I had was damning. Young girls, some as young as 12, being ushered into a shipping container. The minister, in full gear of my shots. If they caught me now, I wouldn't make it out alive. "She can't have gone far," one of them muttered. "She's around here," another one growled, his voice sharp with anger. "Find her." They eventually moved on, and I used the opportunity to slip back to my car. My heart didn't stop racing until I was miles away. The footage I had was explosive, but it wasn't enough to dismantle an operation this large. I needed to expose the ringleaders, the financiers, the enforcers and buyers. The following days I moved from brothel to motel and small hotels in shanty areas of town, avoiding familiar places. The photos I had taken were damning, but I couldn't just publish them without context. I needed more evidence, proof that would make it impossible for Dominic Obi and his network to wriggle free. That's when I contacted Amina, a social worker who had been trying to rescue trafficked girls for years. She was wary at first but agreed to meet me. "These people are ruthless, Celine. They have zero tolerance for mistakes. They don't leave room for second chances, and anyone who crosses their path or interferes in their operations faces severe consequences," Amina warned, her eyes darting to the door every few minutes. "They have connections everywhere. Police, customs, even NGOs. You need to be careful." She went on. "I don't have a choice," I said, showing her the photos. "This has to stop. I have been following the money trail, digging through public records, and interviewing former victims. Every lead pointed back to one man. This man." I showed her Obi's photo. She sighed, then slid a piece of paper across the table. "Here's an address. It's one of their safe houses. They keep the girls there before shipping them out. I don't know anything about this man, but you can get more information from this address." The address led me to a crumbling building in the outskirts of the mainland. I waited until nightfall, then slipped inside. The air was thick with the foul stench of sweat and urine. I found girls huddled in a small, windowless room, their eyes widening with hope and terror when they saw me. "I'm here to help, I'm here to help," I whispered, snapping photos of their living conditions. "Stay quiet, I'll get help." But as I turned to leave, the door burst open. One of the traffickers stood there, his face a mask of rage. He lunged at me, and we crashed to the floor. I fought back, scratching and kicking, but he was stronger. Just as he pinned me down, I heard a loud crash. The man slumped and I pushed him off of me. Amina stood in the doorway, holding a broken plank of wood. "Run!" she shouted. I didn't need to be told twice. Grabbing my camera, I bolted past her and into the night. Amina followed, and together we disappeared into the night. I never heard from Amina again. In order to bring down the roof over this arm of human traffickers, I needed to make one last move. I needed to get close to Dominic Obi. Over the next few weeks, I posed as a recruiter, using a fake identity to infiltrate one of his employment agencies. Soon I was able to meet one of his lieutenants, a slick-talking man who called himself Chief. He spoke in riddles, but his arrogance slipped when he mentioned a big shipment leaving soon. I played along, pretending to be interested in expanding my network. It worked. He invited me to a private meeting at a 5-star hotel. The meeting was a trap. I only got to realize it the moment I stepped into the room and saw Chief smirk. The door locked behind me, and 2 burly men stepped out from behind the curtains. "You have been asking too many questions," Chief said, pouring himself a drink. "Did you think we would not notice?" He demanded to know who I was working for, but I stayed silent. Unexpectedly, the interrogation turned violent. A blinding slap landed on my face. By the time I recovered, I was on the floor, blood pooling in my mouth. Several kicks followed. I tried to protect my head and chest, but I refused to break. For whatever reason, a fire alarm shattered the tense air, sending my captors into confusion. They paused, exchanging quick glances before rushing to investigate the commotion. This was it, my one shot. Summoning every ounce of strength left in my battered body, I bolted toward the door, adrenaline drowning out the pain in my ribs. Bursting into the lobby, I found myself swallowed by the panicked crowd evacuating the building. My captors hesitated, their pursuit became impossible amidst the chaos. Clutching my side, I moved as fast as my aching body would allow, blending into the throng as we spilled out of the hotel into the night. With the evidence I had gathered, I worked tirelessly to compile my report. I reached out to international organizations, law enforcement, and trusted journalists. The story broke a week later. Photos, interviews, and a detailed expose laid bare the horrors of the trafficking ring. The minister denied everything, of course, but the evidence was overwhelming. He was arrested, along with several of his accomplices, and their operation was dismantled. The victory was bittersweet. The scars of this investigation remained with me. Faces of the girls haunted my dreams, and the bruises on my body were a constant reminder of how close I had come to losing my life. Yet, for every girl rescued, for every trafficker exposed, it was worth it. Many of the girls are still traumatized, their lives forever altered. But there is a glimmer of hope. The fight is far from over. This was just a start. This is the life I choose. A life where the truth is worth any price.